Freeman Hospital holds a briefing today to discuss COVID booster shots.
President Biden faces questions about Afghanistan as Americans and allies try to flee. I'm Natalie Brand with the president's message to U.S. citizens on the ground there.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Freeman Hospital announced today that it's ready to administer COVID-19 vaccine booster shots to those who qualify. The hospital will administer single-dose booster shots of the Pfizer vaccine at its drive-through clinics to those who schedule appointments. Jessica Liberty, Freeman's infection prevention and control manager, explains who is currently eligible for the booster shot.
Those patients who have severe or untreated HIV infection would qualify. Those that are actively receiving cancer treatments would qualify. Those that are severely immunocompromised and have some autoimmune disease, they would also qualify.
Tonight at 6, a Joplin resident who's immunocompromised shares her thoughts on the booster shots and COVID-19 vaccines in general. A Delaware County woman gets a 20-year sentence for recording the drug overdose death of another woman. Allie Anderson, charged with first-degree murder in the victim's death, will serve less than 3 years of her 20-year sentence. The judge suspended 17 years of her sentence, then gave her credit for time served. Anderson and her husband Brian Anderson were arrested in 2019 for Melissa Vermillion's death. Police say they injected Vermillion with meth, recorded her while she overdosed, and ignored her calls for help as she was dying. Brian Anderson died in jail last year. Another nice, warm, muggy day. A few spotty showers. Nick Kelly.
Yeah, a few spotty thunderstorms are trying to hold on, Chris, but at least for Joplin right now, we're just seeing quite a bit of cloud cover, but at least we're dry at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. But north and east of Joplin, that's a bit of a different story. We've actually saw a few showers and storms develop just within the past hour. The heaviest right on top of Highway T, east of Lamar and eastern parts of Barton County. We're also watching a couple showers on the southern sides of Stockton Lake. But in general, most spots are looking okay right now. But look off to the west. Ahead of our approaching cold front, I already started to see thunderstorms come to life across central parts of Kansas. We're going to stay dry for much of this evening, but look at how hot it is. Upper 80s to lower 90s. Feels like a triple digits easily with all this humidity in play, but that will result in thunderstorms late tonight into tomorrow morning as lows eventually drop to 73. We'll see what the storms tonight will do, Chris, plus break down the rest of the forecast here in a bit.
All right, Nick, thank you. President Biden says there will be time to second guess the way he handled pullout from Afghanistan later. But for now, the U.S. is focused on one mission, getting tens of thousands of Americans and Afghan allies to safety. The president and other administration officials say they are still trying to get an accurate count of how many Americans remain in the country as they work to open more third country locations to process the evacuees. Natalie Brand reports from the White House.
In his second speech on Afghanistan this week, President Biden said the U.S. will finish its withdrawal after evacuation efforts are complete.
We'll use every resource necessary to carry out the mission at hand and bring to safety American citizens and our Afghan allies.
The scene outside Kabul's international airport remains chaotic. Flights have resumed after an earlier pause when the processing facility in Qatar reached capacity. Among the thousands showing up for evacuation are unaccompanied minors. This video shows a man handing a baby over an airport wall. The U.S. Marine Corps says the baby received medical care and was reunited with the father at the airport.
I don't think any one of us can see these pictures and not feel that pain on a human level.
The administration is working to open new processing facilities in the region, including in Bahrain and Uzbekistan.
The Wall Street Journal published a July 13th memo from diplomats warning the Afghan government could fall after the U.S. troop withdrawal. In it, they also urged the State Department to pull out Americans before U.S. forces were gone.
A bipartisan group of lawmakers who served in the region say the U.S. should not withdraw troops unless certain conditions are met.
We are forcing the situation to be more chaotic, to be more tense, and to be more dangerous and volatile than it needs to be.
The Secretaries of Defense and State held phone briefings on Afghanistan with House and Senate members Friday afternoon. More briefings with lawmakers are scheduled for next week. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
The Pentagon said 5,700 people were evacuated out of Afghanistan over the past 24 hours. Well, 2 people are dead as a result of flooding in Gila Bend, Arizona on Saturday. Another 30 had to be rescued, many from rooftops, according to Gila Bend Mayor Chris Riggs. The city declared a state of emergency Saturday after flash flooding ravaged the valley overnight. The Maricopa County Sheriff's Department says search and rescue operations are still underway. Parts of the area measured 2 inches of rain in the past 24 hours. The Arizona Department of Transportation says State Road 238, which connects Gila Bend to Maricopa, is completely closed because of high water. And it's still a mystery on what killed a family of 3 and their dog in Yosemite National Park. Autopsies did not provide any clues as to why Jonathan Garish, Ellen Chung, and their 1-year-old daughter Mihu and their dog were found dead on a remote trail. Investigators can rule out blunt force trauma or other means of violent death like gunshots, and there was no suicide note. Speculation continues that toxic algae from the nearby Merced River or noxious gas from abandoned mines could have played a role. There were no other dead animals in the area, which might rule out some environmental factors. The family was reported missing on Monday, and the bodies were discovered Tuesday in a remote area of the Sierra National Forest. Mariposa County Sheriff's deputies remain on the scene, trying to investigate every possible cause of death. A single-engine plane crashed soon after takeoff at the Anson County Airport in North Carolina this morning, killing both people on board. North Carolina Highway Patrol reports it appeared that the Piper PA-24 aircraft had engine trouble as it went down in a wooded area. Troopers say the plane immediately caught fire upon impact. Names of the pilot and passenger have not been released. The FAA and the National Transportation Safety Board is investigating the accident. Still ahead, Tesla is looking to put robots to work. And next in Health Watch, COVID is beginning to hospitalize more people under the age of 50. Officials in Illinois had to shut down an entire police department this week due to a coronavirus outbreak. Officers in the town of Venice began experiencing symptoms last week. Eventually, officials ordered all 3 officers and the chief to start a roughly 10-day quarantine. State and county police will take over police duties for the area until the quarantine is over. This comes at a bad time for the department, which was already shorthanded and operating with a relatively small budget. The mayor said it's a reminder of just how serious the virus is as the Delta variant spreads across the nation. A new study from the University of Michigan shows how small dietary shifts can create significant health and environmental benefits. The study, published in the journal Nature Food, is based on the Health Nutritional Index, which calculates the net health burden of foods in minutes of life. For example, eating a hot dog could cost you 36 minutes of healthy life, but eating a serving of nuts could give you an extra 26 minutes. Researchers found changing just 10% of your daily caloric intake you could get an extra 48 health minutes per day and reduce your carbon footprint by 1/3. But you'd have to swap out for healthy foods. That means more fruit, vegetables, nuts, legumes, and select seafood. More nursing homes want COVID-19 vaccines for residents and staff. The U.S. Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services says there's been a recent uptick in requests for vaccine access. In the first week of August, about 150 nursing homes requested government assistance. Nationally, about 60% of nursing home staff and 83% of residents are fully vaccinated. On Wednesday, President Biden said nursing homes must have vaccination requirements in order to continue receiving Medicare and Medicaid funding. The good news, more people are getting vaccinated against COVID-19. More than 1 million doses were administered yesterday, which hasn't happened since July. The bad news, more people are ending up in the hospital. And as Britt Conway reports, patients are getting younger and younger.
We're seeing far more young people affected by this virus, requiring hospitalization.
In fact, hospitalization rates for people under 50 are setting new records. The biggest jump, people 30 to 39 and kids under 18. The CDC says they're up more than 30% higher than their previous peak in early January.
The virus is drawing a distinction between those who have been vaccinated and who are unvaccinated.
But only about half the population is fully vaccinated, and there's still no approved vaccine for kids under 12.
COVID-19 vaccine reviews are the top priority for the FDA. It is possible that we may have vaccines for under 12s before the end of the calendar year.
But this school year has already started for many, putting kids squarely in the middle of the mask debate. In Louisiana, a mask protest at a school board meeting. In Georgia, some parents are pulling their kids out of school. In Texas and Florida, pushback against governors blocking mask mandates. In California, a parent attacked a teacher during an apparent argument about masks. And now President Biden has directed his education secretary to step in.
This includes using all of his oversight authorities and legal action, if appropriate, against governors who are trying to block and intimidate local school officials and educators.
I'm Britt Conway reporting.
That's a look at today's health news. A little later, T-Mobile says it's discovered more people affected by a recent data breach.
But first, we are definitely hot and humid today. Will it stick around through the weekend? We'll break down that forecast next. While we do have thunderstorm chances in the forecast, we're all wondering if it can scrub out the heat and humidity because it definitely kicked back into gear as we got our Friday underway. Certainly no more noticeable compared to the upper 80s we saw yesterday afternoon. In fact, we topped out right around 88 degrees at Joplin Regional during the afternoon. After we dropped back into the mid 70s this morning, easily back to 91, but with the high humidity, it felt like the triple digits outside once again. You can see on the Skywatch Storm Tracker radar satellite loop, we did have some scattered storms this morning, a little lull around the start of lunchtime. Then we saw a few more isolated storms popping up. But so far today, about 1/10 of an inch on the average, but where the storms continue to try and develop, trying to produce some more heavier pockets of rain. But what I'm really watching though, what I guess another thing I'm really watching is the thunderstorms developing out in central Kansas. That is ahead of our next cold front. But around here, the past hour or so, I've actually been keeping an eye on a good cell that has actually started to shrink a little bit as it's working toward El Dorado Springs and maybe a couple showers on the southern sides of Stockton Lake. That's about it in terms of local rain right now. But we got more storms to track later on tonight. At least we're looking dry from Joplin's perspective at 7th and Rangeline, but 90 degrees, the dew point is 77. It feels miserable. Feels like 103 outside. Everyone's in the lower 90s, maybe a few mid 90s around Independence, Sedan, and Nowata. But you factor in the humidity, it feels like the triple digits easily, between 103 and as hot as 110 over in Sedan. While most spots are dry this evening, it's going to be a very slow drop through the 80s for much of the evening. But by late tonight, thunderstorm chances on the way will eventually drop us back into the lower 70s. Again, those thunderstorms are already developing out in northeastern and central parts of Kansas. That is where our next cold front is, but it's a cold front that won't entirely sweep through because, as I break down the upper level setup, here's the upper low. That's going to push the front in, but thankfully it's keeping any severe weather in parts of the upper Midwest. But note this upper level ridge. That's ultimately going to win out. So while the front is going to play a role in our forecast, that upper level ridge is going to really win out in terms of temperatures. So let's break down the rest of the evening. Most of us are dry, but here's 10 o'clock. Ahead of that cold front, the leading batch of showers and thunderstorms will start to cross over the turnpike and work in during the overnight. Some of these could be strong, but I do not expect these to be severe, but can't rule out with the strongest of storms producing some heavy rainfall, maybe some gusty winds and relatively small hail. We'll have thunderstorm chances to start the morning out. Then I think we're actually dry for the afternoon with some returning sun. That means temperatures will go from 73 in the morning to 85 by noon and afternoon highs to about 90 degrees. We'll watch for additional showers and thunderstorms throughout the overnight into Sunday morning and maybe a couple of isolated storms in the afternoon before that front hijacks itself up to the north. But you see how we stay in the lower 90s, so you got to factor that into the equation with all this rain that we're going to see over the next 2 days. Half an inch to almost 2 inches tops. That is certainly going to leave us hot and humid for much of next week. 90 tomorrow, 93 Sunday, mid to upper 90s Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Chris, that will be a hot and humid stretch before hopefully we could at least see a little bit of a dip in temperatures and maybe slight rain chances by Thursday and Friday.
Hey, with this heat the way it's going, it's going to take some of that corn and start popping it out there.
Certainly will.
Hey, good for the movies, though. Nice drive-in movie. Right. Nick, thank you so much. Well, coming up, making music out of food. But first, we take time to honor one of our many four-state heroes. Corporal Kendall Masters is currently serving with the Marines and has been since 2009. His hometown, Nevada. We're proud to recognize Corporal Kendall Masters, tonight's four-state hero. And remember, To learn more about other heroes or nominate one of your own at any time, just head over to our website. That's KOAMnewsnow.com. T-Mobile confirms 5.3 million more customers had their data stolen. That's in addition to the 7.8 million subscribers impacted in a hack several days ago. Information from more than 40 million people who applied for credit with T-Mobile was also compromised, as well as 850,000 prepaid customers. The company says device information numbers, which can be used to track users, were stolen for some subscribers. It's also possible names, phone numbers, social security numbers, and driver's license information were included in the hack. T-Mobile says no credit card or other financial information appears to have been stolen. Elon Musk says Tesla is creating a humanoid robot. He says it'll have a screen where a person's face would be, and it'll perform boring, repetitive, and dangerous work. Musk says a prototype could be available next year. Building a humanoid robot has proven difficult, and Musk has a history of overpromising. An art student in England is making music with food. CBS's Ian Lee reports by using ASMR, a way we respond to sound, the researcher hopes to change the way we feel about our meals.
If music is to the soul as food is to the body, then Mengting Zhang is composing the perfect diet. It's called sonic seasoning, linking foods to sound to help meals taste better.
So it will actually influence your appetite, actually the flavor and also the emotion behind the sound. That is modular.
Zhang designed special bowls that can detect the food, which adds flavor to our ears and changes how we feel. For example, some sounds could help build an appetite.
Like this one, I play it when people is pouring honey into their plate, and this one feels like quite light and happy.
While other sounds you might find less appealing for those of us who want to make healthier choices.
This sounds like very weird, so some people just lose appetite when they hear it.
From the looks of it, reactions to this way of tantalizing our taste buds can vary.
It's kind of strange kind of experience.
It's a very special experience.
A meal with a melody, creating a feast for all the senses. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
Musical food, who would have thought? Well, Zhang hopes her research can someday help people who've lost their sense of taste from COVID or other diseases. We got a final check of the forecast right after this. The CBS Evening News is next. Then on KOAM News at 6, an Oklahoma woman is sentenced to 20 years in prison, but she'll only serve a fraction of that term. Plus, the latest from Freeman's briefing about COVID booster shots and tips from the Better Business Bureau on choosing the right contractor. Stay with us for CBS Evening News and KOAM News at 6. You know, we mentioned corn a little bit earlier, how you could almost pop it with next week's temperatures, but we've got a little rain and stuff to get through before we heat back up again.
Yeah, that's pretty much item number one on the short-term list, Chris, that I'm watching. So let's go ahead and break down how the rest of the evening will go. I think most of us are dry up until about 10 or 11 o'clock tonight. Then ahead of the approaching cold front, thunderstorms to the northwest. We'll try to work on in. Some of these could be strong, but I'm not expecting these to be severe. I think the better shot for any severe weather is north of the region from about Emporia, Topeka, Kansas City, up north into Minnesota and North Dakota. But this could be a loud night with some lightning, heavy rain, maybe some minor wind gusts and some small hail. But once we get these storms out of here after Saturday morning, the rest of the day, it'll look nice, but it may not feel so nice. Even with highs around 90, all this humidity is going to make it feel like a triple digits once again, just about. We'll go 93 on Sunday. I'll watch for a couple of isolated storms during the day, but 96 to 97 Monday through Wednesday, Chris, that is definitely going to be a hot stretch. And if the humidity starts to rise, I wouldn't be surprised if we had to put alert days out for those, because that's getting close to heat advisory criteria.
We need to get off of this hot track that we're on.
Well, hopefully when we get to September, we can edge in the right direction.
I'm hoping so. I mean, I like the warm weather, but this is a little too warm.
Yeah.
Nick, thank you so much. That's our time for now. CBS Evening News is next. We're going to see you back here at 6. Thanks for making us part of your night.